My name's Alex Vail and I'm studying a PhD in zoology. I think people have this perception that fish are quite dim-witted really, because they're so different from us. The attitude at the moment is generally, there's something nice to eat, maybe at best that they're quite pretty to go and have a look at occasionally, but I don't think that a lot of people really think of them as really switched on animals that have these complex relationships and communications systems with each other. What I'm looking at is the cooperative hunting interaction between gropers and moray eels and a few other different species, and we're looking at what sort of cognition underlies their cooperation. The way the cooperation works, it relies on their complementary hunting tactics. So the groper has got this speed out in the open water, so it can chase down these small prey fish. So they're both after the same sort of prey, these small coral reef fishes. And the moray eel has this sinuous body that allows it to get into crevices in the reef, which the groper can't access. So by hunting together, they really decrease the prey's chance of escaping. It can't escape into the open water, the groper will get it. Can't escape into the coral, the moray eel will get it. The really interesting bit is that they've worked out this communication system to coordinate their hunts. So the groper really seems to be the brains of this operation. So it has these two key gestures that it performs. One of them is known as the shimmying signal. So it performs this to a moray eel. It's just sort of poking its head out of the reef. That's generally what they're doing during the day. So the groper, if it's feeling like hunting, it'll come up to the moray eel and it'll perform this sort of shimmying behaviour while it's pretty much touching the moray eel. The moray eel feels like it, it'll come out of its hole, swim around the reef with the groper, looking for a fish that's maybe a little bit slower than the rest of them, something that they want to hunt. Then what will happen next is generally the groper will chase a small fish, 9 times out of 10 or more, the fish will escape into a hole in the reef, and in some cases the groper then performs this pointing gesture. So what it does, it's really strange looking. The groper orientates itself sort of head down like this, and it shakes its head from side to side over the top of this escaped prey fish which is hiding in the reef. And this gesture, this pointing gesture, means to the moray, hey, come and have a poke around in this hole, this is where the prey is hidden. And we've actually just recently published a paper showing that this type of pointing that the groper does, this headstand behaviour, is what is known as a referential gesture. So until this study, it was thought that this type of communication is restricted to the largest brain species around. So ourselves, great apes, and most recently corvids, so ravens in fact. So it's actually not just these really large-brained animals that can do this, what seems like fairly sophisticated communication. Fish can do it as well. So the groper that we're studying, it's in a genus called Plechopomus, and they're an incredibly important food fish on coral reefs. So they're probably one of the most prized food fishes because they've got really tasty flesh in fact. But this has actually been really their demise because in certain places, like in the Red Sea, where I did sort of the initial bit of my work, it really seems that their population numbers have crashed in the last 10 years at least, and probably a lot before that as well. But what we're really trying to do is sort of change people's perceptions that, fish really do have a lot going on for them, and they're really not that different from other groups of animals that people do care a lot about. And I think that's really important for conservation because it's people's attitudes that are sort of at the root, of these conservation programs. It's people that care about animals that are ones that, provide the funds and provide the people power to make these things happen, that get them to work. So I think that for there to be coral reef fish and lots of other species of fish into the future, people really have to care about them, otherwise they're not going to be around. I live on a marine research station. My parents are the directors there, and so I've been surrounded by marine biologists my entire life. I've pretty much grown up with a mask and snorkel on, going snorkeling a lot of days out of the week, and so I just love the ocean. I've spent most of my life in and around it, and so I guess becoming a marine biologist was a real natural progression for me. So the Gates has given me the most incredible opportunity. I think that one thing that's really nice about it is the kind of freedom that they give you, that they sort of give you this trust that we believe that you're going to go out there and make a difference. So, if you find something that's a little unusual or, sort of go for it, go down that track. And I think that that's fantastic because it gives people the potential to find out really amazing things.